his initial hearings, the U.S. government wanted Amin extradited immediately, saying this was an Iraqi case, not one for the U.S. courts. But Amin insisted he was in Turkey when the killing happened, and his defense attorneys wanted a chance to prove it.
When he told us, well, I was in Turkey the whole time, we knew we really had a lot of work to do to figure out what was happening.
Judge Edmund Brennan said looking into the evidence Barber wanted to find was worth investigating because of the stakes involved. In Omar Amin's own words, if he went back to Iraq.
I'm afraid of being tortured more than I fear death. There are no human rights there or oversight of any kind. Their methods of torture are horrible. They hang prisoners from their hands while they're tied to their back until their shoulders are dislocated. There's rape and there are threats to family members. Most prisoners die of torture even though they might be innocent, and no one can hold the interrogators there accountable.
But while Omar Amin could not travel to the Middle East to prove his innocence, Rochelle Barber could.
And you actually went to Turkey?
Yes.
Tell me why you went to Turkey and what you were doing when you were there.
So I went to Turkey and elsewhere in Europe because there were witnesses that we needed to talk to. When Omar was there in 2014.
Barber's goal, retrace Amin's steps and habits.
Thankfully, he was a registered refugee, so there was a lot of oversight. And it was a matter of figuring out what that oversight was, what agencies might have information about him, and then each one, there was a slightly different path to actually being able to get that information to show that he was in Turkey.
And Barber had another idea. Use the same evidence prosecutors had been using for years to convict her clients. She would use cell phone records and data from cell phone towers to show where Amin was on June 22nd, 2014. It took 2 years wrangling with U.S. prosecutors, the State Department, the Turkish government, and telecommunications companies, but she got the records. This is that data showing Amin's phone in use in Turkey for the entire summer of 2014.
But even more critically, he was on the phone at 8:30 at night in Mersin at his house, so in Turkey. So that shows that within, half an hour, maybe an hour of the murder in Iraq that he's charged with, he was actually in Turkey on the phone.
Could someone else have had Mr. Amin's phone there in Turkey?
Looking at the evidence, it doesn't seem possible. I mean, if we're gonna sort of engage in sort of fantasy, I guess he could have jetpacked over to Iraq or something.
The U.S. Attorney's Office told KCRA3 Investigates they would not comment beyond what has been filed in court. They did file this response to Barber's evidence, citing, again, multiple eyewitnesses. They say his phone dialed a number of unknown terrorists, though they do not name the person. And they say the records do not prove that Amin was the one holding the phone.
I think the only possible theory the government could have at this point is that Omar hired a body double to go, live his life. Really, it comes down to it. Live his life, come home, sleep in his house, be with his wife and kids, so that he could do what? Go kill someone he doesn't have a beef with for an organization he has nothing to do with?
Now, after a lengthy, nearly 3-year battle, Barber says she believes this is, quote, obliterating evidence that Amin was not in Iraq and should not be extradited. But so far, U.S. officials disagree, maintaining that even with the evidence, Amin should be sent back to Iraq to face the murder charges. For Rochelle Barber, the heavy responsibility of Amin's life or death situation keeps her going to make sure she did all she could.
If Omar gets returned, I can't feel like I left anything back, held anything back. It's having an innocent client is a weighty, weighty responsibility.
And because of that, if he's let go, Amin plans to stay in the U.S., telling us the lawyers who represent him show the best in what America has to offer.
My home country wants to take me back to kill me, and my defense lawyers are holding on to me, trying to save me, fighting for me day and night. And I hope they forgive me for all the trouble and sadness I've caused them. They feel my same feelings of sadness and injustice.
So what happens next, you're probably wondering? Well, it all sits in the judge's hands at this point. If he allows the evidence, there will likely be more filings and hearings. If he decides to extradite, there will be several other steps that need to be taken by the attorneys and Omar Amin, which they hope won't come to that point. Brian, Lisa?
So, Brittany, has the U.S. Attorney's Office changed their stance at all on this, or are they still pushing for extradition?
Well, that's a good question, because just this week, the U.S. actually filed a new argument asking to ignore all of that cell phone data we talked about there, but adding that certifying extradition doesn't necessarily mean that Omar Amin would be sent to Iraq. That would actually be left up to the new U.S. Secretary of State. Now, his office would not comment on the record about this case. Back to you.
Okay, yeah, a lot of moving parts here to this story for sure. Brittany, thanks.